I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler's Move Awards, at least our kickoff. Joining us today to actually show you how people move their worlds are JK Anicoche, a performance artist, acting coach, and head of the Sipat Lawin Ensemble, using narrative storytelling to move people. And Paul Rivera, he's the founder and CEO of digital recruitment platform Caliber. Paul.
Good morning, Maria.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You literally moved different worlds. You moved to the Philippines. Why?
Yeah. Well, first we moved out of the Philippines in 1988. I was 5 years old, and like many Filipinos, we were seeking a better life abroad. And I think for most of my adolescent and teenage and even young adult life, I thought that I would just be in America. But I had an opportunity in 2007 to become an entrepreneur, and I had a big dilemma. I was working at Google at the time, and I had just started there. But I was presented with this opportunity to be an entrepreneur in the Philippines. And I decided in 2007 to make that leap because I was young enough to fail and go back. And I also believed in what the Philippines could become. So I decided to move from Silicon Valley to Manila in 2007. And I didn't make the move full time yet. But over the next 2 to 3 years, I began to spend more and more time. And it just made sense to make the full move to the Philippines, and I've been here ever since.
Any regrets? What's it been like for you?
No, I think the primary regret is maybe I should have made that move sooner. And the primary reason why I initially moved to the Philippines was the Philippines was becoming a global destination for BPO. I had spent a little bit of time in India helping work and build that BPO industry in 2004, and I saw what it did to that country. It was an agrarian economy that was making a leap to a knowledge-based economy.
Right.
And the Philippines was beginning to make that same leap, and I wanted to ride that wave. And I rode that wave, and I'm still riding that wave, and look what it's done to the Philippines.
What did you see here that gave you the courage to come in? What could you contribute? What did you see yourself doing?
The people, the Filipino people, the Filipino worker, the Filipino call center agent, the Filipino engineer, the Filipino nurse, right? We're known as world-class talent. And what has now happened is the world has come to the Philippines. And many of the jobs that I think Filipinos seek abroad are actually now here.
Yes.
For the first time, we have the ability to actually create upward mobility in the country. The BPO industry has created 1.1 million jobs, contributes $25 billion a year to the local economy, and is now going to create a foundation for an economic middle class that was missing for 30, 40, 50 years and maybe had never been here.
JK, you've shifted and you're also moving different things. What are you focused on? What do you want to do?
I'm a storyteller, primarily a storyteller. I use different media to tell stories. So sometimes I use books to promote literacy and move to different places. We also have the theater in a backpack where we perform in different spaces. I use theater as a platform, as a medium for engagement. And as a medium for discussion. It's a participatory work where we engage audiences and they participate in collective imagination. So as a storyteller, I have different identities, different media. Yeah.
When people talk about development or moving the Philippines forward, they rarely think of the arts, and yet the arts are connected to who we are and actually inspire it. How do you tap that, and how do you connect to an idea of changing the Philippines?
Yeah, the arts, special performance, it has its capacity to engage people in discussion, in performances, and discourse. When we make it accessible to more people, by making it more accessible through crowdsourcing, allowing people to participate and not just watch, like this system that we're developing, the blank ticket system, where you present a blank ticket to your audiences and they just put any amount based on their perceived value of the exchange, and it becomes not a product, but it becomes something that is valuable to their lives. It's also necessary to listen to the voices of our audiences, so hindi lang sila nag-appreciate, they're also part of the whole process. And also, I always talk about collective imagination. And using the language of the now, it's a lot of sensing. It's a lot of it has to shift how we engage people nowadays. You have an online reality, you have an on-the-ground reality. So, ang dami kailangan i-consider at nag-change din yung sensibilities.
So interesting. In fact, you're both doing the same things, moving in the virtual and the physical world. Paul, what did you see that you wanted to change?
You know, when I was building the BPO business here in the Philippines, I began to encounter a recurring problem. And it was a two-sided problem. The first one was me as an entrepreneur, me as a business owner, I had a hard time finding talent. I had a hard time discovering and connecting to talent. And I could never grow my business as fast as I wanted to. And then on the other side of it was a social and people problem. And that manifested itself by seeing young people fresh from school with a college degree, but lacking the right skills to be employed in my company or my industry. And that pattern repeated itself over and over again. And you know, one of the most troubling memories I had was seeing young people cry and literally beg for a job. Because if they did not get this job, they may not be able to eat. They may not be able to send their sister to school. And I didn't see anyone trying to solve this problem. And so I was moved by those job seekers. I was moved by those young people. And I didn't want to be in a country where we did not fix their problems. Because I had jobs that were unfilled. They had hopes and desires and dreams that were also unfilled. And we wanted to remove that friction, and that's why we started Caliber.
What gave you the confidence to do it?
You know, I think entrepreneurs by nature are a little crazy.
Agree. No.
Entrepreneurs are also tolerant of risk and uncertainty. But I think what gave me the confidence to do that was beginning to really understand the stories of these people and to begin to understand that their gaps were correctable. They could make this leap. And you know, in the last 2 years, we've helped thousands of people make that leap. From a situation where they perhaps were underemployed to now being fully employed, acquiring skills in many different industries, and creating an opportunity for them and their families to be upwardly mobile. So what gave me hope, what gave me inspiration were the people.
What biggest challenges you faced so far?
You know, the biggest challenges that we faced were really in the first year when we were starting Caliber. Technology startups are a very new thing in the Philippines, relatively new in Southeast Asia, and we wanted to build something at scale, meaning it affects millions of people.
Right.
And to do that, you need money. You need investment money. And the initial challenge was being able to attract investors to the Philippines. They loved what we did. They loved our vision, but they wanted us to be on Sand Hill Road in Palo Alto. Right. But what we were able to do was to begin to convince investors like the Midyar Network to make a bet not just on Caliber, but on the Philippines.
Right. Fantastic. You both actually are different parts of things I think are essential in life, which is the soul, the spirit of a person, and technology in both ways. Scale. You know, the problem with theater is there's this small group of people. Is that enough? How can you get How can you get the story to spread?
Well, the performances is spread online. It's an extension of discussions.
So technology actually is something you put
does
in.
a lot. As much as we acknowledge that performance is a very potent potent medium in terms of it can be used for dialogue. So we're using performance in Muslim Mindanao to talk to propel youth to have a voice with the BBL. We're also using performance to promote children's rights, to have to teach children about basic rights. So ang lakas ng capacity ng performance, but it's also necessary for us to create structures that can be replicated in different spaces, online man or on the ground.
What problems do you want to solve?
What problems? Ang dami. Literacy, education, in storytelling, presenting different points of view. Also, we would like to address our participation in governance. And at the same time, the idea of apathy. That's one thing. It's not that we have a clear enemy or we're addressing someone, but now I think we're addressing apathy. So empathy through performance, that's what we want to pursue.
Fantastic. Paul, in terms of, well, you left Google to start your own. That's that's a risk. You could have stayed there and had a good job, and then coming in here now, you are sparking something. One of the themes I'm always interested in is the power of the individual, because we always say one person makes a difference, but yet one person isn't enough.
Yeah.
Right? How do you deal with this dichotomy?
Yeah, you know, one person can't do it all, and I think what I try to do are two things. One, I try to find and work with at Caliber young people who believe in the vision, right? Not just the vision of building a technology startup that helps people get good jobs, but a belief that through entrepreneurship, we can create wealth from the bottom up, right? And so, you know, they become disciples, right? And they spread the gospel to other parts of Metro Manila and other parts of the country and the region. So it really, you know, Manny Ayala likes to say this, right? We're trying to create our own mafia.
Right.
Our Caliber mafia, right? And it's this mafia that will then spread our message all over the country.
Social movement.
It's a movement.
So everybody uses that social movement. How do you?
Social innovation. We are putting this provocation to artists, to fellow artists, asking them if can performance inform the social? Can social inform performance? Is there a need to change the way we're creating performances? It has to be more inclusive instead of the old ways of being very exclusive, tayo lang. But if you listen to the voice of the community, it informs a lot the way we do things.
Right.
Yeah. At the same time, I think when people gather together, there's this we are creating this this change or this movement together. I always talk about not being moved but being propelled to move. So kaya kailangan din we have to build capacities.
Right, right. And you know, it's like Alcoholics Anonymous, sorry, in a positive way,
Yes.
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
have to. So let me ask you that. We are looking for people like you, people who will move. You know, people who will look at the odds, and even if the odds are daunting, say, "I'm going to risk." What happens in a moment when you're down? What happens to you when you are just down and it's painful and it's difficult?
Yeah. You know, as an entrepreneur, you're in a constant cycle of euphoria and anxiety. Right?
I love
and
that.
You know, probably understand that sentiment.
I certainly
right?
do.
And it happens on an almost daily basis. And I think what I've learned is, you know, being an entrepreneur now for 8 years is those cycles will just continue to happen. And you just have to moderate the highs and lows and know that if you have gone through bad moments and have survived it, you're probably going to be able to survive the future bad moments. And being able to surround yourself with an amazing team that can support you or the organization as you go through those moments is really, I think, enough to keep going and to keep believing that the work that we're doing is valuable and impactful.
JK.
We in Sipatlawin we say it's fire, shoot, aim.
Fire, shoot,
It's a
aim.
reverse process. You take the risk. Who said this? There's this theory that you cannot solve the same. You cannot solve problems with the same consciousness that created them. So we always do cross pollination of ideas. So every time fire, shoot, aim, we say that you have to fail now, learn faster, fail fast, learn faster. But more importantly, we have to provide a platform for artists to fail now.
It's interesting you're using tech words, right? There's fail fast, fail forward, fail
Exactly.
better,
Yeah.
right?
But not too often.
No, not too often. You can't. How do you decide when you're doing the right thing? How do you gauge progress?
How do we gauge progress? Impact can be measured by their response, audience response. At the same time, it's plain gut feel. we do a lot of sensing. So you survey the political, the social, the cultural realms, economics. Especially as artists, we're also addressing the idea of sustainability.
Right.
Is it still sustainable? Are we sustaining ourselves, paying just enough, changing the ways we do things so that we can pay each other to continue? And at the same time, are we spiritually there? Are we sustained spiritually? Are we still enjoying? So in moments, in down moments, it's good to have colleagues who are just there, tell you, okay, kami muna. Shared orientation.
You can rest a little bit.
Can
Yeah,
rest,
yeah.
Then fire away.
Paul, how do you gauge when you're on the right track?
Yeah, so at Caliber, we're very lucky to be in a business where we have a double bottom line. The impact is built in.
Yeah.
So, as a business, we're obviously going to be measured on our revenue and our profitability, but we also care as much about the impact. And impact for us is, are people getting jobs? Are we moving people upwardly in their economic status?
Yeah.
Are we helping a person with only a high school degree or who had dropped out of college get a good job? So those are the impactful measures that we care about just as much as the top line revenue and the bottom line profit.
Fantastic. So you've been listening to two people who have really been passionate about what they've done, have taken risks. I want to show you the different types of movers we are looking for, and hopefully you know one of them, similar to the two guys you've heard. Let's roll the video. Look for these movers. The music, but there's music. What is very clear is that we're seeing Paul fulfill all of those different things. I guess your last thought. So what we're looking for now is for you to look around you and find people who inspire you. Find people who are willing to take risks and who are able to take people along with them and build something, change things, right? I guess we throw these words around all the time. Change, inspire, and the impact on society. For both of you, your last thoughts in terms of where we are now and how other people can do what you're doing.
I think the Philippines is in a window of opportunity, right? Where we have the resources, we have the leadership, we have the people to really begin to build and reach our potential as a country. And I think where we are now, at least with Caliber, is we want to create an economy of hope and opportunity. I want to create a company that drives OFWs back to the Philippines. I want to create a company that forces the OFW to stay in the country and not even to leave. Because for them, they don't discover the opportunities that are present here. So I believe that this is probably one of the most exciting times the Philippines has ever had. And I'm very humbled to be a part of it and to do our part to reach our potential.
And JK?
Yeah, this is a time for us to create possibilities. We have to be reminders of possibilities for others. In school, we're being taught to be excellent and good for ourselves, but not for others. Kapwa, we have to inspire a lot of people to do good for others. I think that's a shift in the consciousness to help others collectively in communities and to become a vessel of possibilities.
But some would say that you're so both overly optimistic. Are you overly optimistic? We have so many problems. Look outside at all the problems that are there.
I see problems as opportunities. They're problems that nobody has just solved well. And as an entrepreneur, you can either choose to look at the world half empty or half full. And I choose to look at the Philippines as half full. And I think if we can do our part to solve these problems, this is going to be an amazing place to live, to raise our children, and I think the Philippines is gonna have its moment on the global stage.
Fantastic.
And performance for us is our platform, or as performance is our rehearsal for a different way of being, of a better life. So that's what we're pursuing.
I nominate both of them for the Move Awards. Thank you, gentlemen. And as you
Thank
begin
you.
a new life with
Yeah.
the children,
Yeah.
come in. No, he's here to stay.
I'm here to stay.
We've been talking to performance artist J.K. Anicoche and Caliber CEO and founder Paul Rivera, people who move for change. I'm Maria Ressa. Thank you for watching.